Give me 1 second. Okay. Welcome to Notable Approvals. I am attorney Amanda Shaffer. I have another exciting case to talk about today. It's been a little while since I have done one of these. We've been quite busy here at the Shapiro law firm, which of course is a great thing. Before I get to our case today, quick reminder, don't forget to like us and follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, wherever you are watching, so that you don't miss any of our lives or important information that we give out about the law. Also, if you find this video helpful or know someone who may, click that share button so that other people are able to be helped as well. So today's case is an interesting case because it involves a lot of moving parts and took some time and then didn't take some time. So I'm excited about this one. It's about a client who is a native and citizen of Mexico. She was initially here on a TN visa as an accountant, which is one of the categories under the NAFTA treaty. I don't even know if they call it NAFTA anymore. Whatever the treaty is now between the US, Mexico, and Canada. So Mexican TNs are a little different than Canadian TNs, but in this case, the difference will come into play really more towards the end of my explanation of the case. So at the end of 2020, during the midst of the pandemic, my client lost her job. And she didn't want to, you do have the 60-day grace period when you're here on a TN, but she didn't want to leave right away because she was also in the US with her husband, who was also here on a TN. So what we did before that 60-day period expired is we filed a change of status from a TN to a TD, which is a dependent, so a spouse or minor child under 21 of a TN visa holder. And we asked them to extend her status until her husband's status expired, which is in September of this year. And that's a common thing to do, and we explain that, although with TNs, there's no limit to how many times you can renew it. It is still a non-immigrant visa, so you still have to show your ties back to your home country. You have to show that you're going to leave when your visa expires, even though it can be renewed. It gets a little complicated, but what we explain basically is she's going to stay with her husband, and they're going to figure out what their next move is, which is understandable. And we tried to ensure that it would be processed quickly, and it ended up taking quite some time, about a year and a half, which honestly, especially during the pandemic, change of status was taking a very long time. Part of the reason is a lot of people couldn't even leave the US if they wanted to. That was another problem she was facing, that the border was closed for a long period of time while she was waiting. So in March of this year, finally, like the end of March, her TD was approved, her change of status to the dependent of the TN, finally approved. Now, during all this time period, her and her husband were trying to figure out what they were going to do, if he was going to, renew his TN, if they were going to have to leave the country. And while she was waiting, she was contacted by several recruiters, and eventually she was offered a job that she was interested in to be an accountant somewhere. And she contacted us to have the employer file a change of status back to a TN. And this time they wanted to do premium processing because they didn't have a year and a half to wait to have her start working, because when you're switching jobs, in certain visa categories, and you're staying in the same category, or switching to a category, sometimes you don't have to wait for your visa to be application to be approved. You just have to wait. You just have to file the petition. So the perfect example is an H-1B. If you're here on an H-1B and you're switching employers to basically the same type of job but for a different employer, as soon as they file the H-1B petition for you, you can start working for the new employer. You don't have to wait for the approval. With a TN, you cannot start until it's approved, even when you're in status. So in this situation, the client, she was, well, sorry, I got distracted because I didn't realize my comments were on. I wanted to make sure I didn't miss anything. So she couldn't start until the TN was approved, so they wanted to do it as quickly as possible. So we filed the change of status back to a TN with premium processing, and whenever we do this, we know they like to send requests for evidence or RFEs when you do premium processing. We try to put in everything we can think of that they're going to ask for so they don't send requests for evidence. So we put in proof that she maintained status. Literally, it was less than 2 months ago that her TD was approved. We put in her eligibility, whatever information we need about the employer, and we got, even though we had just submitted all this evidence about her husband's maintenance of status as a TN, we ended up getting an RFE. And the RFE, all it asked for was proof of the relationship, which she wouldn't have been granted the TD without the marriage certificate. All right, so we put the marriage certificate in, very simple RFE, and then we put in a couple of pay stubs for the husband just to show that he was still in status as well. And a day or two later was granted. So in total, even with the RFE, it took them only 14 days with premium processing. So as our client was able to pretty much start on the start date that her and the employer envisioned when they contacted us. So we had less than a week to file it so that she could start on time. So this is a great example of a case where someone's changing status twice. And I didn't mention earlier, but this wasn't her first TN visa. She had been here for a number of years already on a TN. So the longer you're here on a non-immigrant visa like a TN, again, even though if she married a U.S. citizen, for example, she could have adjusted her status in the U.S. So it's not one where you have to leave the country first. You still have to show proof of your non-immigrant intent and maintenance of status every single time you renew it, you extend it, you change your status, just whatever the case may be. So it can get increasingly difficult and can give people a good reason not to want to leave the country to go renew their visa. So there's 2 ways of renewing a TN visa or changing to a TN visa. And this is where the difference between Mexico and Canada comes in. If you're from Canada, you can leave the US, take your job letter, walk to the border, show them that it's a TN job, and you can be let in for 2 years. You just stamp your passport. In Mexico, you cannot just walk up to the border and without a visa and get a TN stamp and be let in. You have to still file the same non-immigrant visa petition and go to the embassy, get a visa in your passport before you're going to be let in. So it is a stark difference. Even though in Canada they can deny you at the border and then you have to file the same petition, at least you have the opportunity of possibly not having to file the petition. So when I say there's difference, the difference in her case is now her and her husband would like to go travel, go on some vacation outside the US, go see some family. And even his visa, which he's obviously, if he's going to continue to work for his employer or another TN employer, he's going to have to file to extend his as well or switch to a TD based on her visa in the same capacity. But both of them are going to have to, before they come back to the US, go to the embassy in Mexico to get a new visa, which isn't a big deal. Once you have an approved petition, you have to just basically notify them, make the appointment, and you should get the visa hopefully without an issue. So it's important to remember, if you want to get your change of status approved, it's not enough just to say I can't leave or I want to stay for a little while. You need to have a legitimate reason, and being a dependent of someone who's here lawfully working on a visa is definitely a good reason. And if you're, happen to be constant, you're allowed to look for jobs in and out of the country. And if you are offered another job and you're eligible for a work visa, you can certainly change your status back. So this is a great example. Everything worked out great in this case. I'm excited for this client to see what's the next step in her husband's immigration journey. So that is all today for notable approvals. Again, make sure to like us, follow us on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, wherever you're watching, so that you don't miss any of our lives or our other helpful and useful content. And if you find that this video is helpful to you or someone you know, please hit that share button so more people can see it as well. And if you need any immigration help or legal representation, on Facebook and YouTube, our contact information has been scrolling across the bottom of your screen. If you're on Instagram, if you go to our bio page, all of our contact information is there. We're here to help. Hope to hear from you soon. And thank you all for watching and have a great day.